Good morning. Welcome to math video number 22. Today we're going to be talking about the property that's called the associative property, and we're also going to be talking about equality in an equation. And so it's really important to also note that part of this video contains information that's not covered in your Math Plus Red, so please pay close attention to this video. Okay, so first of all, we need to figure out what is an equation. An equation shows that two amounts are equal. So you can see here, this shows that 3 plus 1 is equal to the digit 4. And we know that's true pretty simply because we can add 3 plus 1 equals 4. And so this equation is true, that 4 equals 4. So what's important is this equal sign is kind of like a balance, and you want both sides to be equal. So you can see in this balance that whatever's on this side of the equal sign is equal to this sign because it's even. It doesn't tip in one direction or another. And that is what an equation is. So this is obviously tilting in one direction because this side is heavier or larger. And what this is showing is an inequality. And that's when you're going to be using signs like greater than or less than. Okay? So if you state that 9 equals 3, it is not true, is it? And it throws the world into chaos. So the right way to say that would be 9 is greater than 3. You would never want to say that 9 equals 3 because that doesn't work. And the opposite is true as well. If this side of the equal sign is bigger than this side, it throws off the balance and it creates chaos. It does not work. So this equal sign is really important. And what makes the world at peace is in an equation, both sides of the equal sign will be equal. Okay, so that seems pretty simple. But then when you start showing lots and lots of numbers and signs and operations as you get older, it's really important to understand that both sides of the equal signs need to equal each other. So this is when it gets a little bit bigger. We can see here 9 plus 2 equals 10 plus 1, right? That's pretty simple. 9 plus 2 is 11, and 10 plus 1 is 11. So they're equal. It's balanced. And that is an accurate equation. Here's another example. 3 times 5, well, we know that's 15. And 15 times 1, that's 15. So this is an accurate equation. Both sides are balanced. This one gets a little bit bigger. 2 times 3 times 5. Does that equal 6 times 5 times 1? Well, I hope so because they use this equal sign. Let's check. 2 times 3, that's 6, times 5, that would be 30. And over here, 6 times 5 is 30, times 1 is 30. So this is an accurate equation because both sides are equal. It's balanced. Okay, so what happens if you have a 0? I'm noticing that sometimes students get these kind of questions wrong because they think 0 is nothing, and therefore, let's figure this out. 2 times 3 is 6. times 5 then would be 30. Well, if you say 6 times 5 is 30, and then you just see that 0 and think, oh, that's nothing, then you might say, yes, these are equal. This is an accurate equation. Well, in fact, when you multiply anything times 0, it then becomes 0. So you need to make sure that you understand what you're doing when you multiply times 0. Now, when we multiplied times a 1, it just made the number stay the same. So I know you know that, but then when you're in a big set of numbers, sometimes it's really easy to forget that and think you're adding that 0 instead of multiplying that 0. So make sure that you pay attention to that, because I'm guessing that the SOL is going to throw in a minus or a multiplication problem with a 0. So I just want to give you a heads up on that one. So this would not be an accurate equation. You would have to change this to maybe times 1 in order for that to work. Okay, so what if you were asked to fill in the blank? Make this equation accurate. So you would have to know, okay, 4 times 6, that's 24. So what times 8 equals 24? Because it has to equal 24 for it to work. So this is when those math facts come in handy, because I know that 8 times 3 would equal 24. So I could fill in the blank with the 3 and make this equation accurate. What about this one? Whenever you have mixed signs like this, time, multiplication, and addition, you want to start at the beginning and do the multiplication first. So you would say 2 times 5 is 10 plus 12 would be 22. So what do I have to add on this side to make this accurate? Well, 3 times 0 would be 0. So I'm going to have to add 22 in order for this to work. So I would have to put this in that blank in order for both sides to balance each other out. All right. So now let's move to the associative property. So this is basically a property, and it works for both addition and multiplication. It does not work for subtraction and division, but it does work for multiplication and division. And it just basically means that if on one side of the equal sign, if you have all the same signs, see how these are all addition signs, you can group the numbers however you want. And grouping means that you're using these parentheses. So you can group the numbers however you want, and it doesn't change the answer. So let's try this. So usually grouping that's when you are going to do that first. So you'll learn more about that next year. But whenever you have parentheses, you want to do the parentheses for whatever is in the parentheses first. So 3 plus 2 would be 5, plus 1 would be 6, right? Let's try this. 2 plus 1 is 3, plus 3 would be 6. So either way, no matter where you put those parentheses, it doesn't change the answer. They come up with the same exact answer, but you have to have all the signs be the same on one side of the equal sign. So it also works for multiplication. You can see here in this example, 4 times 5, we'll start with that, is 20. times 9, that would be 180. Let's try the other way. 5 times 9 is 45 times 4. So if you did that, you would also get 180. So you can see that no matter where you put the parentheses, as long as all the signs are addition or all the signs are multiplication, you can put those parentheses signs and group the numbers however you want, and it's not going to change your answer. So let's take a look. Now, if it doesn't have any parentheses, you're just going to read it like a sentence. You would just say, okay, 3 times 4 times 2. And you would just do it in order. Okay, so 3 times 4, it would be 12, times 2, that is 24. Right, you just go straight across. So the associative property, when they start to use the parentheses, that means that's the part you're going to do first. So here, let's take a look. If you change where the parentheses go, you're going to see that it doesn't change your answer. So 3 times 4, we'll start there, and then we'll say times 2 would be 24. But if we started with this, 4 times 2 equals 8, times 3 is also 24. See how it doesn't change the answer? So that means that you could say that this is equal to this. And that's what is written down below here. They both equal the same exact thing, which is 24. And you can also see it's true for addition. So if you group these two numbers and do that first, 3 plus 4 is 7 plus 2, well, that would be 9. But if you group the other ones and do this first, 6 plus 3, that would still equal 9. So you could say that this equals this, because they both equal the same number. And so you could write it like this. Now, I don't want you to get the associative property confused with the commutative property. The commutative property is when within the parentheses or just one fact, like 3 plus 4, if you flip those around to say 4 plus 3, that's the commutative property. The associative is when you're actually grouping the numbers in a different way. Okay, so the commutative is just when you flip, where you turn the fact around. Just instead of saying 3 plus 4, you're now saying 4 plus 3. That is called the commutative property. And that's true for addition and multiplication as well. So you could say that 3 plus 4 equals 4 plus 3 because of the commutative property. And you can see that it's also the same for multiplication. Okay, so you'll come across a question that's similar to this sometimes. It says, which expression completes the following equation? So we want something that's equal. Remember our equal sign, it works like a balance. So whatever we put over here has to equal exactly what this equals. Okay, so we know that there's the commutative property, and then there's the associative property. And if they're rearranged like those two things, then it's going to be equal to this. So let's see if there's any of these down below that rearranges the numbers in such a way that we could write it over here and it would still be equal to this. Okay, let's look down here at C. You can see here that they've moved the parentheses around these numbers. Up here it says 21, 4, and 6. This says 21, 4, and 6. So instead of grouping 4 and 6, it groups 21 and 4, which is good. However, if you look really closely, you're going to notice that they changed the sign. This is using multiplication. You can't change the signs and get the same answer. It has to be the same signs. So the correct answer for this one would be A, because this one groups different numbers, but the signs are the same. So we know that without even doing the math, we know because of the associative property that this would equal this first set of numbers, because all they're doing is changing the grouping. So which one down below do you think would equal this? Well, the correct answer would be A, because these are the same digits, the same signage. The only thing that they've done differently is change the grouping. So without even having to do the math, I know that this would be correct. But if you wanted to make sure, it'd be a great idea to go ahead and go through. So 2 times 3 would be 6 times 6 is 36. If I did this first, 6 times 3 is 18 times 2. Yes, it does equal 36. So A would be correct.
All right, it's time to show what you know. Look at these equations and tell me which one is true. Which one is balanced? What about this one? The question says, which number sentence is correct? In other words, which equation is balanced? Look carefully at this question. It says, which equation shows the use of the associative property of multiplication? Look closely. Okay, friends, we are finished with math video number 22. Don't close the video until you click on the smiley face and let me know what you think of what you learned today. There is a Study Island lesson that goes along with this just for you. And you can get more practice at IXL.com, of course. I absolutely love this quote. It says, don't practice until you get it right. Practice until you can't get it wrong. It's a different level of perseverance with this. And I love it that math can teach you how to be strong, how to not give up, how to have grit, how to be that kind of person that just perseveres until you are competent. I love that. All right, friends, have a great day.